A surreal scene as the first virtual convention of the coronavirus era kicks off. What you missed from the opening night of the Democratic National Convention. Here's what you need to know. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need2Know podcast for Tuesday, August 18th. I'm Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Good morning, Carlo.
Julia, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. So was it a late night for you or just an extra early morning?
It was an extra early morning. I couldn't do it. I tried. I just couldn't do it. I was so tired yesterday. But I woke up early. I am prepped. I watched all the highlights and the lowlights. So yeah, let's do it.
All right, Democrats launched the first ever virtual convention with a simple message. Donald Trump must be defeated in November at all costs, and we can worry about the rest later. Senator Bernie Sanders told his supporters that even though he had disagreements with Joe Biden, this election is about preserving our democracy. John Kasich, the Republican former governor of Ohio, he was standing at a literal fork in the road. He pitched Biden as a moderate who wouldn't move too far left. Michelle Obama ended the evening with an impassioned critique of President Trump. It was probably the most searing speech of her career. She says that Trump's lack of empathy is a disqualifying character flaw. She said she's had 4 years to prove he is up to the task of being president and that he is just not. She said he is in over his head. It is what it is.
That
That
of
was
cou-
trending this morning. Hashtag it is what it is.
well, that of course that was clever because that was a line that the president said about the coronavirus death toll recently. But yeah, another thing that Michelle Obama said, "quote If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can." End quote. She also delivered a specific call to action among that critique of the president. She told people to vote in person if they can, and if not, to request their absentee ballots now and send them in right away. Essentially, there was also a powerful moment from the daughter of a man who was a Trump supporter, a 65-year-old man who died of coronavirus, and his daughter said, "quote My father's only pre-existing condition was trusting Donald Trump, and for that he paid with his life." That I thought was a really remarkable moment, and I expect we'll probably hear that and hear from her in commercials in the next few weeks. So look, Jill, I think, it was weird, right? It sort of felt like a long Zoom meeting. I think they did the best with what they could, right? And when it comes to like the production elements, I think you got to have to grade both the DNC and the RNC on a curve this year, just from like a TV standpoint, right? It's not normal times. But look, Michelle gave a barn burner. Bernie did what he had to do. I think bringing out people like John Kasich and Christy Todd Whitman, who also spoke, I think it's a smart strategy from the Democrats, because the idea, at least, is that it gives cover to swing voters, people who may have voted for Donald Trump last time but are on the fence this time.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good considering in some ways, kind of like the NFL draft. I liked that it was virtual. I felt like it
Oh yeah,
moved quicker without
yeah.
just all of the applause. And I like that we could kind of judge the speeches on our own. Sometimes the crowd when you hear their response, it obviously influences, what you how you respond to it. So I didn't
See,
mind
that's
that.
interesting. That's an interesting point because, not to interrupt you, but sort of thought the opposite, just because the applause sort of like gives things room to breathe, and without it, it feels random. It just feels like you're jumping all over the place. But I see your point, right? You sort of like make up your mind without hearing the crowd.
I liked that Michelle Obama, in terms of the call to action, I thought that that was really effective because she actually went and said, in these certain precincts, in these certain swing states that decided the election, it came down to 2 votes more for Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton, just really showing that every vote matters, that it is really
Exactly.
important. So I thought that that was quite effective. I thought it was weird that she did not mention Kamala Harris. Donna Brazile, who's a
Interesting.
Democratic strategist, suggested it's possible that Michelle Obama recorded her message a few days ago, maybe last week, before Biden officially picked Kamala Harris. But I thought that was I don't know. I thought that was a real missed opportunity. for Michelle
Yeah.
Obama, kind of to wholeheartedly throw her support behind Kamala Harris. Again, this is just the start, the official start of the campaign season, I guess. I also don't love, as we discussed, when celebs get super political. So I didn't love that they opened with Eva Longoria. I just thought her being the first person that we saw. I know that she is really politically active, but it's off-putting for me.
Interesting. I say more Eva Longoria, the better.
I know, I know.
Um,
I figured you would.
sorry.
No, she's
Um,
super smart. I just like it's not. I just my thoughts
yeah,
on
yeah,
on
yeah.
celebs.
No, I get it. I get it. I do. Look, eventually you're going to have to make the case for the actual nominee. Why should Joe Biden be president? So I think that will be. I think we're going to start to see that tonight, especially with his wife, the former second lady. I guess is that what you call the wife of the former vice president, the second lady? I guess so. Anyway,
Yeah.
she's speaking tonight. So we'll see what she has to say.
Okay, to my point though about just the Hollywood, just the celebrity aspect of it. The Trump response from his spokesperson or his campaign person was Democrats can try to conceal the dangerous truth with a Hollywood produced infomercial, but they can't hide the fact that the radical socialist leftist takeover of Joe Biden is complete. So that was one of the responses. Interestingly, I was just monitoring the president's Twitter feed. It's like chock full of retweets, and they mostly went after Andrew Cuomo, which was fascinating. It shows maybe who they think is the next rising star in the party. I don't know. I mean, it's filled with just retweets going after Cuomo, and Lindsey Graham. Wrote something like my view of what life was like after the Obama presidency is much different than that of Michelle Obama. And Trump's Twitter account quickly retweeted that. So I just think we're getting insight into what the response from the Republicans is going to be to the Democrats. Again, tonight's lineup is going to feature speeches from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bill Clinton, and John Kerry. And then Dr. Jill Biden will deliver the keynote in the 10 p.m. Eastern time hour. I happen to be the biggest fan of Jill Biden from when she do you remember when Joe Biden was on stage making a speech and these women came up to try, I don't know what they were doing. They were not attacking him, but they bum rushed the stage and she pushed him out
Oh
of the
yeah, I
way.
forgot about
I
that. When
like,
was
she
was that last
just,
year?
I love
Like,
that. Protecting her
yeah.
man. I loved it.
Would you do that for Michael if he got bum rushed on the
Of
stage?
course. Of
Oh yeah, I
course.
bet. No, that's funny. And look, I think that Joe Biden, again, regardless of your politics, he has an incredible story, and he has been through, he's been through hell and back in his life. And I think that we're going to start to, that story, if you're not familiar with it, will be introduced to voters, I suspect, by her tonight.
I think so. Because eventually this does need to be about Joe Biden. So okay, let's switch gears a little bit. So all the action again
We could go
starts
on.
what, 9
We could
o'clock
go on all
tonight?
day. Yep.
We could go on, yeah. So let's just move on to some of the other news that's happening today. UNC Chapel Hill, which was one of the biggest universities that was going to open for the fall semester, has abruptly reversed course after 130 students tested positive for coronavirus in just the first week of classes. As of tomorrow, the school will be shifting to remote learning for the remainder of the semester. The decision illustrates the difficulties of bringing large groups of people together, even if it's in a relatively controlled environment like a college campus.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I mean, there's the UNC is they're part of the ACC, and the ACC says they're going to play sports. So I don't know they're going to have Tar Heels football, but there's going to be no students on campus. It's very unclear. But yeah, I mean, you said it exactly right. If this is what's going to happen. Like, this is pretty predictable. I don't know. I don't think that people should be surprised by this. We're gonna get infections in these, in these campuses as they return. And then the problem with what happened here, right, is they brought these kids back. They all got infected, and now they're gonna send them home. So they're basically just gonna seed a new, outbreak around the country. I don't know, man. But anyway, in New York. the other big news in the last day, the rate of positive tests has been hovering around 1% for weeks, despite fears of a second wave. We have not, knock on wood, we have not gotten it yet. So Andrew
Right.
Cuomo said the gyms will be allowed to reopen in the state next week, so long as they stay at 1/3 capacity. Jill, we've talked about restaurants in the hospitality industry, but and I know that you have a friend who lost her gym during all this, but that's an industry. The fitness industry is one that is essentially collapsing and desperately needs help from the federal government to stay afloat.
I just want to make a correction to something that I said in this podcast yesterday. I was mentioning that the quarterback at Ohio State started a petition to have football be played, and I said it had 1,000 signatures. It had 250,000 signatures like immediately upon posting
Oh
it. So
wow!
I was only off by
Wow,
uh,
an order of magnitude.
I don't. Oh, like just it was funny. I was saying to my husband, I was like, "Oh, did you like that I mentioned the Ohio State quarterback?" He's like, "Yeah, but like you kind of were off on the number." So he corrected
I
me
don't
on
think
that
it's going
one.
to make much of a difference, but we'll see, I guess.
I know. I mean, that's the whole thing. It speaks to just the challenge of getting things up and running again in any sort of normalcy. But I have been seeing a lot of pictures of universities of schools that are holding these outdoor camp, that are holding a lot of classes outside, which seems to be pretty smart while the weather could support it. And
Yeah.
this one really creative, and I think maybe let's put it in the newsletter tomorrow. One kindergarten classroom that I saw, they actually made each desk separate is like a fun like a car or like just like it
Oh
became
yeah,
they made
that's
the
cool.
classroom really fun for the kids, and they made the desks, like I said, they put them in a socially distanced way and they put plastic around them, but in a fun way that the kids will probably be
Right.
super into. So you can
You
get
know,
creative and try to
Jill,
make it work.
we've been saying this for months, and some of the creativity that we've seen everywhere in schools, restaurants around the country. Like when this is all said and done, if I were president, I would I would honestly do like an award show for the country, and I would give out awards like Congressional Medals of Freedom to people who thought of stuff like that, because like that's what we need. We really need that kind of like ingenuity and creativity here, whether it's figuring out how to do outdoor dining, figuring out how to get the kindergartners involved. Like I love that, and it's those people they're heroes in my opinion.
I totally agree. In other news, the Trump administration has finalized a plan to open up Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, known as ANWR, to oil and gas drilling. ANWR is home to vulnerable species like polar bears and caribou. It's been off limits to oil exploration for decades. The Republican tax bill that passed in 2017 opened that area up to long term leases that the Interior Department will begin selling off this year, meaning that they'll go into effect regardless of who is in the White House come January.
And this is happening, of course, as we've covered here, during a massive worldwide surplus of excess oil. Right, we're in an oil glut in the world right now. I got gas the other day, Jill, $1.99. I can't even remember if I have ever even seen below $2 gas in my at least since I've had my driver's license. So keep that in mind here, right? Any oil that they discover in Anwar, it'll take a while for them to get it out of the ground, probably at least a decade. But this is something that is that I deserves coverage. It hasn't gotten a lot of it, but it's incredibly short-sighted in my opinion. Oil is not the future of energy production. It just isn't. And I get that it's better that we get it from the ground in our country than it is from the ground in Saudi Arabia. But this kind of thing just kind of it kind of bums me out, I have to say.
I agree. I've interviewed a lot of either auto executives or auto experts on Cheddar. Electric vehicles are basically the way that this industry is going. And I'm just with you to damage this environment, especially at a time when
For our
the
kids, right? I
global
mean,
environment. Yeah,
yeah, like
it is
Alex will pay for
heartbreaking.
that. You won't. Your daughter will, and my unborn children will. It's just really sad.
Also, the market for newly built single family homes in the U.S. is absolutely on fire. Home builder sentiment, which is closely watched as a gauge for the housing market, is higher than it's been since 1998, as buyers are looking for more space in less dense areas and are enticed by record low interest rates to make their move. Also, Home Depot earnings just out this morning. Sales are up 23%. Foot traffic in stores is up 35%. You can compare that to the rest of the retail sector, and it is remarkable. And I could tell you anecdotally. I mean, I was sitting outside of a Home Depot because we're moving. We just bought a house, and
Yep.
we had to test. We're testing paint colors for my daughter's room. So Michael, my husband, ran in quickly to grab some paintbrushes for us. I was watching on a Sunday morning. It was like Grand Central Station before coronavirus. I was like, how many people going in, out? I mean,
Yeah.
I just could not believe how many people were there. And it speaks to, I think, the fact that this is what people are doing now. If they're not buying new homes, they're improving their
Renovating.
current homes because we're spending a lot of time at home.
Yeah, and I mean, Home Depot was one of these companies that was really worried about what was going to happen to them in March and April, and they needn't worry, I suppose. The flip side of all this, Jill, the cost of lumber is actually soaring. It has more than doubled since April. So why is that important? It means that these newly constructed homes, they're going to be more expensive probably soon. So what that means is that if you're in the market for a newly built home, this is probably the time to strike before those lumber prices become, reflected in the construction cost. That, of course, doesn't really matter if if it's not a newly built home, but
Okay. We're gonna now. I want to talk about a story that's both business and politics. Coca-Cola has become one of the largest U.S. employers to give its workers off for Election Day. So Coke joins Walmart, Patagonia, Best Buy, and hundreds of other corporations that have signed the nonpartisan pledge at MakeTimeToVote.org. So they're going to let employees get paid time off to vote, whether it's a few hours or the whole day. This is an issue every election cycle, and it seems to be breaking through this year.
it does. It does. Look, I mean, election day should probably just be like the first Saturday in November. I don't think I'm the first person to think of that, but why is it the first Tuesday in November? That it goes back to this like weird rule from the 1800s when this was like an agrarian society, and you had to give people. The idea was you have to give people like a day to travel to the polling place, right? So they couldn't do it on the weekend because that was when you go to church. You couldn't do it. You had to be back on Wednesdays because that's when the farmers went to the market. So I mean, this is literally why election day is on a Tuesday. It's probably fair that we could change that now and not destroy the economy, but I do think that that you're going to see more of these companies say that you should we're going to give you the day off like Coke did, or Walmart saying we're going to give you like 2 hours off, which is better than nothing because it is your civic duty. And it's hard. It's easy when you work in a job like ours and you're salaried and you have some flexibility to take time off in the day. It's no big deal. But if you're working at the grocery store and you're working a double that day and then you have to go wait in line to vote, like that's bad.
I've never really waited to vote because I always will work really crazy off hours, so I get to
Hmm.
go, like when nobody else is
Yeah.
there. But if you've in New York City anyway, there are lines that wrap around blocks to vote, and I've seen in other places too. Just the pictures of it, people wait hours to vote. I mean, and if
Yeah.
you feel like your job's at risk, certainly that doesn't work. So good for these companies. Okay, and finally, with the NBA playoffs now underway, Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler may need to focus on something other than the side hustle that he has been running out of his room in the bubble. Okay, this is awesome. Butler apparently brought a French press with him to Orlando, assuming that the hotel coffee wouldn't be great. So now he's the de facto one man coffee shop for the league. According to a snap of a whiteboard outside of his room, Butler must know that he's got the market cornered because a small, medium, or large coffee runs $20 cash only.
I
I,
love this story.
it's
It's
amazing.
brilliant. I mean, give this guy make this guy CEO of Starbucks or something. It's all about supply and demand, right? Large is $20, small is $20, medium is $20. That way you take the large, you think you got a deal when really you're just getting, completely ripped off. But hey, you need good coffee. So Good for him. Smart.
I love it's cash only. He probably is also like, I don't feel like dealing with change, right? So if it,
Yeah.
$15 for
20
a
spot.
medium.
Plus, these guys have the money, right? Why not?
I think it's super smart, and I feel like he's gonna do something with this idea after the season. Like we're gonna get like Butler coffee, or there's gonna
Totally.
be something that comes out of this.
I love it.
All right, everybody. That is what you need to know for Tuesday, August 18th.
All right, guys. See you mañana.